Shalom. As I'm writing this, the media focused on the story of Israel pounding Gaza. Now, what's the background of this? Well, there was a ceasefire, and during that time, Hamas spent the time digging tunnels to bring illegal weapons into Gaza to be able to hurt Israel. But there was a ceasefire nevertheless. A few days ago, and I'm recording this right after December 27, 2008, Hamas decided unilaterally not to continue the ceasefire and then started sending multiple rockets, dozens and dozens and dozens of rockets into Israel. It's like Wisconsin, Madison shooting rockets. It's even closer. I mean, it's much closer than that. It's like the Wisconsin border town shooting rockets into Chicago, or Waukegan, right on the border of Illinois. Dozens and dozens of rockets. And Israel said, stop it, or we're going to have to do something about it. And they didn't stop. They just kept doing it. And of course, they put their leadership and their weapons right near civilian targets, putting their people in harm's way purposely, so that if Israel defends itself by having to attack Gaza, innocent people are going to get hurt. Whereas Hamas, their whole goal is to kill innocent Jews. They are totally committed to the destruction of the state of Israel, just like the president of Iran is. And Israel left Gaza a little while ago, a couple years ago, said just create a peaceful situation here, but there's not been a moment of peace. And the only time there's been peace, they've been collecting weapons. So what is Israel supposed to do? What would any sovereign country do? Do you think the United States would tolerate for 5 minutes missiles coming at it from Mexico or Canada? It would never. So why should Israel be expected to tolerate missiles coming at it from Gaza and not do anything to protect its citizens? And it said stop it or something's going to have to happen. Well, Israel has got to do what it's got to do to protect its citizens. And anybody who doesn't agree with that, I'd say is clearly an anti-Semite. Now, they have to use reasonable precautions to protect civilian lives, unlike Hamas, which could care less. They want to do innocent suicide bombers. Their goal is to kill as many Jews as they can. That's not their goal. Their goal is to stop Hamas, to kill their leadership or force them to stop sending missiles and to behave like a peaceful nation, which it seems like they're incapable of being. But sadly, because of the way Hamas conducts itself, innocent people get hurt. So that's the story. The United States so far has been good about this and telling Hamas, stop being violent. And then Israel will stop having to defend itself the way it is. That's basically the story. Now, what I'm going to also do in the section describing this is put my other videos, which were recorded in the past, dealing with the Israeli situation, to give you a little more background for those who would like more. Now, I know I get emails from people saying, well, what about the Israeli occupation of Palestine? Well, first of all, Palestine was the name 2,000 years ago the Romans gave the area. The Jews who lived there were called Palestinians. There was no, if you look back in history, there were no Arab Palestinians. That's a made-up term for modern times. But Israel's on board. Most of Israel's saying, yes, they can have their own entity. They said this in 1947 when the United Nations declared an area for Jews and for Palestinians. But it was the Arabs that said no. And now, there's some Arabs who they call themselves Palestinians who live there who agree, and then there's others like Hamas say, no, we want the whole thing. We want to destroy all of Israel, take over the whole thing. Well, that's not going to happen. And that's basically, and the idea that Israel's occupying the area, who has a better claim to any piece of land in the world than the Jews do to that land? Nobody has any claim to any land in the world better than the Jews have a claim to that land. Just open up the Bible. Whether you're religious, whether you read the Bible, pretty clear the Jewish people have an historic relationship. And the only time they ever left was when they were kicked out. And the major song of the Jewish people was dreaming to go back for 2,000 years. In every service and every prayer, we still say it today. And so, I think that's a little bit of background about Hamas continuing to try to destroy Israel, to kill Jews, and Israel doing what it needs to do to defend itself.